What's up? Welcome back to another video. Today's video, I want to rank all the cameras that came out in 2020. 2020 was a very busy year camera wise. So why not rate all the cameras and rank them, and talk about what I liked, what I disliked. Let's get into it. So the first camera on this list, of course, is a mixture of cinema cameras and mirrorless cameras because that's what mostly came out this year. Of course, there's the odd point and shoot in there because that's what came out. I'm really interested in cinema cameras, so I included a lot of those. Let's start with the Blackmagic Ursa Mini 12K. This camera can shoot in 12K resolution up to 60 frames a second, 8K up to 120 frames a second. This thing is the beast of a camera. This is the best of the best that you can get. Of course, 12K has some workflow issues, as mentioned by Linus Tech Tips, and of course, the review's been positive overall. So for that reason, and it's pretty much top of the class, this is the best you can get. That's being whacked into S tier, which is the top tier. Of course, under that we have A tier, which is the second from the best. Then we have B tier, C tier, and D tier. Next, we have the C500 Mark II. Why am I putting this in A tier? Well, I'm putting this in A tier because I feel like this camera did a lot really good, and this was one of the best cameras you could buy. This was the camera to buy at one stage. But however, cameras have come out in the meantime, and while this camera is great for what it offers, I don't see it as what you're getting the best bang from your buck. This has a 5K sensor in it, of course the best of the best. However, it's not really the best use of your money. For the money, you could probably get something else that will give you better. However, no slouch, the C500 Mark II is the bomb. Let's go on to the Sony FX6, and that's being whacked straight into S tier because this camera manages to do so much that the FX9 could, while we're basically retaining autofocus, preamps, ND filters, everything that made the FX9 what it was. It's just unbeatable what it could do. Now let's do the C300. I'll whack it into A tier because while C500 did a lot well, C300 built upon that, and the FX9 came out and the FX6 came out, which means I'm kind of stuck there. I'm going to have to whack it into A tier just because you can get smaller, more compact bodies that can do more or less the same thing now. Let's go into the EOS R6, and that being whacked into B tier. Now, before you come at me, it's a great stills camera. However, the video capabilities aren't as great. It uses an ORF lens mount, which isn't the worst. However, you'll need an adapter to get your EF mount lenses, and it's just not really good enough nowadays to have less flush lens mount market. However, the EOS R5, I'm whacking into C tier. Now, this was supposedly going to be the best of the best camera we could get, This camera was supposed to be the one that would end all the cameras. This was going to have 8K recording up to 60 frames a second in the body size of a DSLR. However, it failed to deliver. It overheated. The 4K just didn't look good. The autofocus wasn't great. The IBIS had issues. Honestly, a big letdown. Probably the letdown of the year when it comes to cameras. I would stick it in D tier. However, I don't think it was that bad. I'm sticking the Sony ZV-1 in S tier just because of its fabulous autofocus. It's 4K, 120 FPS in HD. It does 24 FPS. It does all the stuff you want a YouTube camera to do. This is the vlogger's dream, and I think whoever buys this will be more than impressed. It has a 24mm equivalent wide angle lens, so not as wide as even the kit lens of DSLR Canon as an 18-55, but I still think it's great, does everything you need it to do, and it doesn't break the bank. Of course, it's €800, so give or take. However, I've seen it go on sale. Next is the Red Komodo, and I'm going to stick it in B tier. I'm sticking it in B tier because the Red Komodo did a lot of things well. It gave you red color science. It gave you all the advantages of a red camera in a smaller body, about the size of a cardboard box. However, it just didn't have some things that red cameras normally have functionality with, which was kind of annoying. The screen was buggy sometimes. The software was in beta. We haven't officially gotten a release date for this camera, and it's for that reason that I'm putting in B tier. Next, the Sony a7C, and that's going in A tier. No doubt, hands down, that's going in A tier. S tier side, because it does everything the Sony a7S III did, which was incredibly hyped, in a smaller body, full frame, great autofocus, great 4K, all that, and the RAW, all in one body. So if you're into the smaller bodies, this was the thing for you. Now the FX9, I'm going to put it in A tier just because the Sony FX6 came out. It does everything the FX9 can do, only in a smaller body. That's the only reason I'm putting it in A tier. Next is the Sony RX100 Mark VII. Now, this was the go-to camera at the start of the year. This was the camera. But I'm going to put it in A tier simply because it costs $1,000. That's more expensive than the Sony ZV-1, and arguably the Sony ZV-1 did a lot of things the RX100 could not, which is why I'm putting it in A tier. Next goes the G7X Mark II, and I'm putting that in C tier. You notice the trend with C tier? I'm putting the G7X Mark III in C tier because of its horrible autofocus issues. The 4K made the camera overheat. It was a massive letdown over the G7X Mark II, which was the go-to camera. And to cap it all off, I'm sticking the A7S III in A tier for the exact same reason I stuck the A7C in A tier, just because it is the camera to get if you're into mirrorless. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comment section below. Let's have a discussion. What was your favourite camera that came out this year? I'm Connor, and I'll catch you next time.